Version 0.2 of Assetto Corsa Evo just dropped. In this video, following on from 5 hours of live streaming, I'm going to tell you what's good, what's bad, what to expect, and why Evo is still a bit of a pineapple pizza. If you want to be able to unsubscribe when I say something you disagree with, you have to be a subscriber first. So subscribe to unsubscribe, click the like button, and make yourselves a cup of tea. Thanks to all the channel members, supporters and people that allow this channel to be independent and let us say exactly what we're thinking. On with the video. Straight to the point, this update is not really the most exciting of updates. It definitely seems like Kunos have focused a lot of time working on underlying game engine features, a little bit in terms of performance improvements, though the feedback I've seen so far is that they're not mega performance improvements, so if you were struggling before, you'd probably still be struggling now. I'm also still seeing reports that triple screen's a bit problematic and you do indeed need a supercomputer to get it to run decently in VR. Now, I haven't fully tested the performance of the game, but I do have a very budget and easily to find Nvidia 5090 in my computer, and with that the settings in the game ran really well. So for those of you that like to waste money on overpriced graphics cards and could probably afford to just do real racing, great job Kunos. But for those of you that are on budget systems, you're probably still going to want to wait a bit for this title to be more optimised, especially if you're playing in VR. Now, another big change is when you load into the game asks you if you want to do the career mode or if you want to do open mode. Open mode is kind of like the original Assetto Corsa or many other simulators where you can just access all the content in the game, all the tracks, all the cars, and just play what you want. Whereas career mode, it will be limited to what you've unlocked and bought in your garage and what you've done by progressing through the game. Obviously, this has been done following on from feedback of the community, with a lot of people just wanting everything to be open, and obviously some people want a career mode. I do think, though, it's a bit ham-fisted how it's been done, and also a little bit messy, and kind of the worst of both worlds, in that I'm not quite sure why you bother doing a career mode if you can just play everything straight away. Personally, I'd have liked to have seen Kunos be a little bit more creative and maybe have it so that cosmetics are unlocked through the career mode or licenses are unlocked through the career mode whilst you're still being able to access the content. But, you know, by doing the career mode, you could maybe unlock other types of vehicle or other types of the same vehicle without it then impacting stuff. I don't know, I just think you could be a bit more creative. As it is now, it just feels like you've got this really weird choice at the start and everything's a bit disconnected. But the community asked for it, so Kunos made the worst decision. Good job. So aside from that, we now have some more content. We have a really nice rendition of the Circuit of Americas and a glorious, super up-to-date version of Donington Park. The track models are superb, as you expect from Kunos. They look great and they'll have all the weather features and everything else. You really can't fault the tracks and the actual 3D models in this. Really good quality. And we also have 7 new cars you can drive. Of particular note, the vintage Porsche 964 Turbo, the Honda NSX, the Maserati, and the Lotus Exige V6 Cup, or also an older Mazda. All nice cars, nice content, can't really go wrong really. Nice 3D models, good audio. They drive generally as you'd expect those types of cars to drive. So, on the face of it, not a terrible update. Not too exciting, but not terrible either. Nothing has massively changed with the handling though, or the force feedback. It's a very sort of mediocre, middle of the road simulator to drive at this point in time. That's not to say it's unrealistic. I think the general handling in this is a lot better than AMS2, for example. And I think the force feedback is a lot better than Forza, Gran Turismo. And in some ways it's smoother and more consistent than Automobilista 2. And in some ways, you know, there's more depth to the handling and some characteristics of the force feedback than iRacing and some other sims. However, when you compare this directly to the original Assetto Corsa, Automobilista 1, Richard Burns Rally, it just feels a bit bland and a bit dull to drive. Also compared to LMU, this just feels a bit dull. It's a bit boring. It looks nice. There's nothing particularly wrong with it, but there's also just nothing that really makes it particularly exciting. The force feedback still has that underlying, overly dampened, very mushy feel to it, and the handling in this also has that overly sort of drawn out, almost a bit sluggish, bit slow motion, bit bland to drive characteristic. It's not hard to drive. I wouldn't say it's bad to drive. It's just a bit dull, and I think most of that, to be honest, is the force feedback rather than the physics. When you drive the Porsche Cup in this, it actually has some really nice dynamics and a little bit of nuance to the slip at the limit. You'll notice the front of the car, when pushed, the way it gains and loses grip in the course of a single corner is more dynamic to what you tend to see with the Porsche Cup car in iRacing, which tends to just go into a dull slide that just gets worse and worse. Or even the Porsche Cup in AC, the 2017 Porsche Cup, which is a different car but same sort of thing. That car is a lot more simplistic in terms of the behaviour of front grip and how the car washes out. It seems like there's more going on in Evo, but then unfortunately, despite that visual movement and changes and precision on the throttle, maybe more precision on the brake in terms of what you can do in Evo, despite that, the force feedback is just so dull, flat and muted, it actually ends up feeling worse to drive, and even feels in many ways worse to drive than the iRacing Porsche Cup. Again, I think it's pretty much just the dull force feedback of the vehicle. And actually, the new vintage Porsche, if you compare that to a rough in the original Assetto Corsa, again, different cars, but same general kind of ballpark-ish. I mean, the rough's a lot faster, there's lots of differences. But if you compare them, the way the cars in the original AC are just way more nimble, responsive, active, way more interesting and compelling to drive, whereas the Porsche 964 Turbo in Evo, like all the vehicles in comparison to AC and AMS1 and even Richard Burns Rally, I'm not just compared to AC here, they all are just a bit too slow to rotate, a bit placid, a bit tame, a bit boring. Some of that I think is physics and the speed at which the cars rotate. A lot of that I think is force feedback. Again, the main point is though, it's just a bit dull. It's like a floppy pizza base. I need my crispy pizza edge, the little burnt bits. I need the dynamics. It's not coming together at the moment. But maybe that's not a surprise, because Kunos have said that the physics aren't the biggest thing they've worked on with this update, and I think future updates there will be more significant workings on with the physics. I mean, look at this slide here, the way we lost the MX-5. On one side, it's like actually easier to drive, it's more drawn out, it's slower, it's more progressive than AC, but then you get slides that are out of nowhere and really, really hard to catch, and the force feedback doesn't really give you the warning. So this is both a lot easier than AC, but then abruptly difficult in a way that I don't think is particularly realistic, with the MX-5 Cup car especially. So anyway, I think ultimately you're just going to have to wait, or we're all going to have to wait for future updates. Obviously this is early access as well, and what gets developed on will be whatever they happen to be developing on. It might not be the things that happen to most excite you as a player of the game, or what you were most looking for. If you're a VR fan, you might be looking for more performance in particular, or triple screens, you might be looking for better triple screen support, or if you like single player, you might have been looking for more single player missions, you know. So early access, can't complain. The development of this and what gets developed will just be whatever they happen to do when it makes sense to Kunos. End result, I just don't think... I think the hype... I hate to say this. I think the hype at the moment is at an all-time low. I think the hype has been absolutely squandered by Kunos with this. Despite, in many ways, some aspects of this shaping up quite nicely. The whole launch of this, the early access, sure, they put out a video saying that they're aware that they weren't happy with the launch, but they still launched the game as it was. And this update coming out now still is just like it's like, oh, good, okay, great. And I think sim racers in general are just a bit tired of this kind of slow trickle development and lack of excitement. And that's not just the early access thing. Obviously, everyone knows it's early access. They're not expecting it to be a finished, polished thing. They're expecting crashes and problems. But if you look at the early access of the original Assetto Corsa, each update of that early access was really quite substantial and really quite exciting. And from the get-go, it was definitively a really nice, innovative sim which stood out. In particular, with its handling and force feedback. It was like, oh my god, this is it. This is an elevation on things. Whereas this, in some ways, is a regression. And not to just bang on about AC, I know you guys always complain about it, but it's the same with other sims that came out in the past. Normally, there would be a specific thing that really stands out. Maybe the single player, maybe the multiplayer, maybe the physics, maybe whatever. Maybe the graphics were massively better. This just doesn't have that at all. So, and also, the AI is excruciatingly terrible. With the new cars we were driving, hardest setting, they were like 1.5k iRacer level of pace and crashing into each other, driving into the walls at the start, weirdly spaced out. So even if you were going to just play this now from a single player perspective with AI, it's just a bit boring and dull. So definitely, like, this is nice progress. I'm not saying, I think technically they've probably done quite a lot of work. I think Kunos will keep working on this, but as it is right now, it's categorically an early access title. It's moving along very slowly. You're better off just playing other sims right now. AC1, LMU, iRacing, whatever. Wreckfest 2, which is early access and only has 3 tracks, is exciting. Actually, oh my god, even though it's not a massive departure from Wreckfest 1, you'll have a lot more fun playing Wreckfest 2 early access, and it still stands out by its own merits. So, all those things you could be doing, you might want to get this whilst it's cheap if you know you're going to be playing it in the future. And I think when this comes out on console, I think Evo will certainly have its place as well, and I think the online racing could be compelling, and if they develop the single player, it could still be quite good. I don't think it will be a bad game either way, but unless you're like massively into seeing games develop and you've got the patience of a turtle that lives 300 years, you probably still want to wait a bit before picking this up. So there you go. That is the pros and cons, the positives and negatives of update 0.2. The pizza is still it's a frozen pineapple pizza. It's been in the oven a bit and the base is sloppy. The cheese hasn't cooked properly. It's not one of those really nice fresh oven proper Italian pizzas cooked in a little village by a beautiful Italian lady. Right now it's a sloppy, it's not a Lidl's budget pizza, it's like a sloppy Tesco's £1 pizza with woefully inadequate toppings and gaps in the cheese. You can eat it, you won't die of starvation, so that's good, but it's not gonna make you excited. So there you go. Thanks for watching this. Happy tea drinking. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, especially if you've got a VR headset and you've tested it. Let me also know what graphics card and CPU you have, what frame rate you're getting. That's really useful for other people to know what kind of performance they can expect. Useful comments are always great, or just call me a bold git. That could be good as well for your mental health, so do that if it makes you smile. Till the next one, happy tea drinking, happy sim racing, see you in the next live stream. Goodbye.